You're listening to the Healthy and Thriving Career Mums podcast, where every week you will learn about healthier habits and hacks to create and support a healthy and thriving lifestyle as a busy mum. I'm your host, Wendy, and I truly believe that the best gift you can give to your family and the world is a healthy, thriving you. Let's dive in. So hi, lovely, and welcome back to episode 4 of season 3 of the Healthy and Thriving Career Mums podcast. First up, thank you for your incredible feedback from last week's episode. I did pour my heart out a bit to you. So I'm just so grateful that the message resonated. So many of you have been reaching out to say, oh my goodness, I'm totally feeling the same way. Thank you for keeping it real. And that's the point of this series, the Inspiring Mum series. I think we inspire other mums when we are vulnerable and we are real. So thank you. The episode landed as I'd hoped. And I'm just so grateful for you, for this community, for everything. And thank you. I've had an outpouring of incredible reviews, a huge bump up in reviews this last week. So thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're busy. So to actually go and click on that button and write the review and hit the 5-star rating, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. Right, let's get stuck into today's episode. And I am super excited for my guest for you today, the incredible Dr. Ericka Good. So Eric and I know each other through our Arbonne businesses, but what I've always been so impressed about Ericka is that she's just got such an incredible story from going from burnt out GP. She still practices as GP, but she's also an aesthetics doctor. She has an Arbonne business. She's a mum of 3, and she's got quite a varied age of kids. So she's going to talk more about what that looks like in terms of, her career and, going through her relationships, her divorce, remarriage, all the things. So many juicy subjects that we cover today, including perimenopause and all sorts of things. So I cannot wait for you to hear from Ericka. So without further ado, let's jump in. So hi everyone, and welcome to today's episode with the gorgeous Ericka, who is like my girl crush GP doctor friend, who is like super hot, super smart, super just everything. I love this woman, and I'm so excited for you to hear from her today. Welcome, Ericka.
Thank you. What an intro. Super hot and super smart. I've got a lot to live up to there.
Oh, you totally will. I'm just going to start by saying you need to go follow this woman on TikTok. She is killing it. She is brilliant. She cracks me up every day. But seriously, just tell me, how do you do it all? This is the podcast for healthy and thriving career moms. I feel like you're just the epitome of that. So talk to me about sort of your background. Who are you? How many kids do you have? What do you do? All the stuff. I've already alluded to the fact that you're a GP, but tell me all the stuff.
Okay, yeah, I think a lot of people look from the outside and do think, wow, how do you do it all? But actually, I would say I'm not as busy as it might seem. And kind of 5-6 years ago, I was a lot busier and a lot more stressed out than I am now. And I think it's all just to do with finding things that make you happy and finding your real passion. So yeah, my background is in medicine. I'm a GP. Been a GP for a really long time, shows my age, over 16 years fully qualified as a GP.
Did you always knew that you wanted to be a doctor?
Yeah, basically from a young child, about 4 or 5, I had a bit of a fascination with blood and also just this thing in me that I wanted to help people feel better. And I remember saying, I want to help people feel better. And so my mum said, why don't you be a doctor? That's what doctors do. And doctors earn loads of money. You can buy one of these really nice houses,
Isn't that so funny? It's changed so much though now, because you would actually say, don't go into medicine. It's such a hard career. But because my grandfather was a doctor, and so much of my family are in the medical profession, but my grandpa certainly wasn't wealthy, and he just seemed to spend all his time being out on call helping people, which is actually what doctors are there to do, obviously.
Yeah, things have changed lots, because when I was little, it was the nicest houses in the town that we lived in were owned by doctors, but actually doctors' salaries are much the same now than they were 40 years ago. It hasn't changed, but inflation has changed so much. And I came from just a very normal family. My mum was single mum. She worked really, really hard, and I get a really good work ethic of her, I guess. Yeah, so this idea of being a doctor was really instilled in me. So I thought, yeah, this is great. This is a great career. This is what I want to do. And I worked really, really hard. I worked my butt off because it didn't come naturally to me. I kind of went straight through schools, A-levels, uni, and then started practicing as a doctor. I didn't really actually love being attached to a bleep. I had these big ideas when I was younger of being some huge high-flying doctor in Great Ormond Street, because I loved kids and I wanted to do pediatrics. But then once I got hold of a bleep and that attachment and being on call all the time back then, because we used to work really, really long on call hours. It's changed slightly now. I thought, I can't wait to get rid of this. So ended up completely switching and going down the GP route, thinking that it would be more suitable to family life, because I always wanted my own children. So yes, I met my now ex-husband whilst I was working as a junior doctor, switched over to go down the GP route, kind of got married fairly young, I guess. I got married at 25 and had my first daughter at 27, just a few months before I completed my GP training. And then, yes, you started working as a GP. So never really had kind of a year out, just went through everything.
It's very similar to my story, actually. I got married at 25, but like you, I didn't have these people who used to go on gap years. I was like, I'm so jealous. Like, we just, as a family, couldn't financially afford for that. Like, I was like, get in, get out, get earning, get paying for student loans, go. Like, it was just back to back to back. So yeah, I feel like I really sort of hear that story of just going from one thing to the next.
Exactly. It was exactly that. And I guess I got to a point in my life where I just thought, oh, this isn't quite what I thought it would be. I had a second child and just got to the point where I realized that I'd lost myself. I'd given up like so many hours to medicine. It's a really stressful and emotionally draining job, missing out on kind of bath time and bedtime with my kids. And I realized as well, my marriage wasn't great. I think I got married too young, and at a point in my life probably where I needed a father figure in my life, and that kind of fell into marriage. So there was a point about, I'd say probably about 7-8 years ago, where I was really unhappy, and I just woke up one day and I thought, something has to change. And the first thing I did is decided that I didn't want to be in that marriage any longer. So made a decision to end my marriage. And that was a tough decision. So I know there's probably lots of women that go through that. And I think so easily we can find ourselves in life just going through the motions. And then children are thrown into the mix, and then you have all this guilt and feel like you've got to kind of stay in a certain place. But I realized that I was still young, I was mid-30s, and I thought, gosh, there's so much life ahead of me. And when the children have gone, what then am I going to have? I'm not happy. I've completely lost me. So I have to put myself first. And that was the first point in my life where I was like, no.
That's so incredible and so brave, because having also had a single mom who left an unhappy marriage, and I saw like how she always put everyone in front of her. Like, I feel like that example to me was like, no, and it sounds selfish to say put yourself first, but I totally know what you mean in that. It's like, you've got to find the joy. And I know you're all about helping people get their mojo back. Like, that is your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we love to teach and help people do the thing that we needed. Like, for me, when I became a mom, I really struggled with the juggle of like having my business and career, but also the fact that I was so grateful to be a mom. And I needed someone who could help me, give me like tips and tools and tricks for my career, but also to help me with my health. So I was like, I needed a me. I needed a me back then. So I filled the gap for the me, but you'd lost your mojo. The light had gone out for you, and you've become that hope giver for people now.
I'd like to think so. So I think you're
Definitely.
right. We do want to kind of help people that have been through the same journey as us. So, and that doesn't mean that everyone's got to get divorced, by the way. I'm not promoting divorce.
We kind of skipped over that, but how was that? I mean, as hard as a divorce can be, but was it amicable, or was it really difficult? Like,
it was hard. It was a horrible time. I'm not going to lie, because it was my decision, and it wasn't received quite so well. But I just knew that it would be the right decision going forwards. And for my children, I had got so unhappy, and I didn't want set that example for them. I didn't want them to see an unhappy mum, and I was often snappy and with the children.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people think you got to stay together for the kids, and that's the right thing to do. And I think you have to do what's right for you. But personally, I just think, I mean, I remember saying to my mom, please divorce dad. Like, I begged her to divorce my biological father because I was just like, you're so bad for each other. I
Yeah,
hated living in that environment.
that's right. I think, we always want to put our children first, and it's working out what's right for them, but what's right for you. So yes, fast forward, I got divorced, was on my own. But then I realized, I was still unhappy in my job, obviously needed to earn a good income. So stayed plodding along. Then I met someone else, my now husband. So I've remarried. And
you just celebrated your anniversary, haven't you? Just a few days ago.
Yeah, last week, 3 years.
Oh.
So yes, I met my husband, and then we went through all that kind of honeymoon phase, and then probably about a year in, I realized that actually I was still really, really unhappy in my job, and that was the next thing that I needed to look at changing, because I was missing bath time and bedtime. I was often coming home really, really late, tearful, and again, there was still a bit of me that was missing. And I spent ages looking at what else I could do, because, like I said, I'd just gone through life just wanting to be a doctor, and that's all I knew. I was in like this little kind of bubble of medicine. I didn't really know what other people did, jobs on the outside world.
I can resonate with that so much. I remember, I call it my like midlife crisis, but at 29, where I was like you, I like obviously a different career, but I worked my way up the corporate ladder. I was in this really high flying corporate job, doing really well, and I was just like, so scared to admit to everybody how miserable I was, how I felt so trapped by that. I'd done everything right, like you, I'd done all the steps and followed the system, and I just felt so trapped. And obviously that was when I started my Arbonne business. And I feel like for me, that was such a glimmer of hope, because it was like, okay, there are other options out there. It doesn't have to look the way that you think it needs to look.
Absolutely. There is so much guilt attached. I remember feeling so guilty, I'd worked so hard to get to where I was, and so many people around me are so proud that to have a doctor in the family, it was a big thing. And to actually admit that I wasn't loving it. So I won't go into all the ins and outs, but cut long story short, I started an Arbonne business as well, which is how we know each other. But what that did is it introduced me to this whole world of personal development, but also really learning about gut health. And I think that the thing that attracted me to this business was that it was quite aligned with lifestyle medicine, like preventative medicine. So for me, it was another way to help people, because, I said the reason I went into medicine was because I wanted to help people. And this for me was something that I was able to start up with the potential to give me time back, and with the potential to help me cut my hours and still bring in some money, which was important. But also, help people with promoting health.
Because that must just be, because I mean, again, I'm going to have a proper soapbox moment here, but this must be such a bugbear for you as a GP. People come into you, they're sick, they're unwell, they want medicine, which is your job as a general practitioner to prescribe, but you must just want to sit there. I mean, you've got 10 minutes. So how the heck do you say, right, actually, the reason you might be depressed, anxious, have these skin conditions, whatever it is because you're not looking after your gut health, and but you can't sit there. I mean, how it must be so frustrating for you when you know so much about why people get ill, and then you're in the system of the NHS where it's absolutely collapsing, but we're not doing enough to educate people on preventative measures so that they don't have to come to the GP and overwhelm the practice. So you're smiling. If anyone can see her face right now, she's like, yep, welcome to my world.
It is extremely frustrating. But what I would say actually through this business is the skills I've learned, I do transfer to consultations with my patients now. And if I do have a little bit more time, then I can, I am able to educate people a bit more on gut health. I think I prescribe a lot less, especially in the way of antidepressants now, than I ever used to.
That's interesting.
I'm able to share a lot of the things that I've learned. So, whether that's mindfulness techniques, books I've read, podcasts I've listened to.
Really? That's amazing. I would love to have you as my GP if I come in and say, help me, and you'd be able to do that for me.
Yeah, it's been really useful. So this, having this extra business has helped me in so many ways, not just personally. I feel it has made me a better doctor because I'm able to offer more resources. It's made me a better mum because I'm more confident and I can teach my children these mindfulness techniques.
I was going to say, because you've got 3 kids now.
Yeah, so I've had another child.
He's just gone to school. How are you coping?
Fine, actually. First few days I was a bit sad, but I've got over that already.
You're over it. You should have seen me when I dropped Jessie at school for the first time. I literally was doing like side kicks and like, yay!
I think it was weird for me because I had my eldest has just turned 16, so she's actually just gone off to college to start A levels, and then the same day my youngest just starts primary school. So yeah, big age gap there.
Such a mix of emotions. Wow.
Yeah, it has kind of knocked me for 6 the last couple of weeks. I'm coming out of it now.
Yeah.
But getting used to the free time, it's nice.
But what I love, so your schedule now, you were saying to me before we actually started this call that you practice as a GP 2 days a week, and now you've got the other days to run your R1 business and the things and be a mom and do all the things. So I love the fact that you've got that portfolio career, because I'm so passionate about empowering women to have a portfolio career, to have a few different things that really stoke their passion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really helped. So I do 2 days a week now as a GP, and I kind of do 9 till 5:30. So I don't bring it home with me anymore just because of the type of contract I've got. I run my R1 business in whichever hours I want. I've also got an aesthetics business, so I do some Botox and fillers, but I just do that. I don't do a lot of that.
Can we talk about that? Because we had a chat about this not too long ago, because I was very uneducated about Botox and fillers, because I was just like, I suppose it's a little bit like the industry of network marketing. People have a preconceived idea about what they think, because like maybe their mom sold some, door-to-door thing back in the 80s. And so they think that's what we do with Ava nowadays. So but I actually said to you, okay, educate me. And you were explaining how Botox is actually a good preventative measure, because I was like, oh, I'm just going to leave it as long as I can before I even consider doing something. And you were like, well, actually, it's better to do it before the deep set wrinkles, because it actually. So just give us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, we're going to cover lots of things on this call. Botox, I think people do, you're right, have a preconceived idea, but Botox works by softening lines. So it relaxes the muscle so that deep lines don't form. The reason we get lines is because of contraction of our muscles over time. So, as mums, if we're frowning and scowling at our kids all the time, those lines are going to get deeper.
I have a very angry line in my forehead. So I think that's all my scowling. Definitely need some Botox there.
So obviously over the time the lines get deeper and deeper and deeper. So if you get there and start relaxing that muscle when you're younger, before the lines get too deep, you can prevent them getting so deep, basically, rather than waiting until you're late.
Won't need as much.
I mean, it still works then, and a lot of my clients are kind of around the age of 50. It still does work, but actually having it when you're younger prevents the lines getting
like preventative. But obviously there's nothing that's gonna sort out, like, a lot of it's genetics, but also a good diet and lifestyle is going to go a long way, because having recently turned 40, people going, you don't look 40, and I'm like, oh, bless you, thank you. Like, I do really look after my skin and SPF and drink lots of water. So yeah, I'm very proud of doing it, but I'm not saying I wouldn't. But also you also really educated me, because again, unfortunately nowadays, a lot of people are like, oh, Botox and fillers. But we were talking about the fact that because you're a doctor, or dentists as well, because you're really trained on the facial muscles, that you need to be very careful about who you go to, because people need to understand how all the muscles, and so if anything goes wrong, the facial stuff. It was fascinating what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's really important if you are thinking about doing anything, having needles stuck in your face, that you go to somebody who really does know what they're doing and has a background in medicine or dentistry and knows the muscles, knows where all the blood vessels lie, knows where all the nerves are.
No, can you imagine? That's what freaks me out. It's like, I feel like every man and his dog is offering it nowadays. I'm like, you know, if you're going to put needles near my face, I want to know that you are a qualified person to do it.
Yeah, I think, there's one thing going and getting a certificate in a day that tells you how to put Botox or whatever, any kind of anti-wrinkle injections into your face. But it's another thing really knowing why you're putting it there and why you're not putting it somewhere else.
And also, if you put it there and you have an adverse reaction, how to correct it and sort it and, do all the things. Anyway,
exactly.
We could do a whole episode. In fact, we probably should do a whole episode on Botox. It's really important. But I was going to circle back around and talk to you because I know one of the things I love about your TikTok account, like you very much about getting your mojo back, is the journey that you've been on with perimenopause. And it's a subject that I'm really passionate about because so many women, especially their sort of 30s, heading into their 40s, are perimenopausal and can be for a very long time. And it really affects them. And I think we always think like menopause is coming in our 50s, but we don't realize the impact of perimenopause. And I know you've really been hit quite hard by that and have really put a lot of coping strategies in place. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a bit with us.
Yeah, I think, we know it's coming to all of us, but nothing can really prepare you for all of the symptoms that suddenly hit because, I have worked on myself a lot over the last 4 or 5 years through personal development, through working on my gut health and being as healthy as I possibly can.
Yeah, you've had a real transformation, like your physically as well. Mentally.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's all just really from focusing on gut health, which is something, we're both really passionate about. But then it was probably about somewhere over the last year, 18 months. So I'm 43 now. But it's somewhere between the year.
I thought you were younger than me.
No, I'm older than you.
Oh my goodness, you look amazing.
Thanks. And my Botox has worn off. So somewhere the last year, 18 months, I started noticing a lot of changes. For me, like my hair has got really thin. It started falling out. I'm actually to the point I'm worried that I'm getting bald patches. My skin has changed. I started to find that my body shape changed. I've always had quite an hourglass type figure. But I've noticed that I'm starting to get a bit squarer and looking in the mirror thinking that this doesn't look like my body. Starting to get hot sweats, palpitations, joint aches and pains. I was getting to some points where I can't put my wedding ring on. And, it all fell into place that actually this is the start of perimenopause.
Did you have brain fog? Because that's a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah, brain fog. I think because, we're busy mums, we just think, brain fog's a bit normal. You just kind of...
I was going to say, we probably I probably wouldn't even know if I do have brain fog because I just think my brain is a fog sometimes. Most days.
I think because there's so many little symptoms that you get, and a lot of these little symptoms we do just put up with and think, it's just because I'm really busy doing all these things, or it's just because I've not slept for a few nights, or it's because my period's due, whatever it is. And then you suddenly piece it all together and realize, actually, no, there's quite a lot going on. This is perimenopause. So what I realized is that I needed to, utilize all the things that I've learned a lot more. And it was April kind of this year, Easter time. I gave myself a bit of a challenge of over 2 weeks of just eating badly, drinking quite a bit, eating all the things that I wouldn't normally eat. And my goodness, I felt horrific, but more horrific than I would normally feel just from 2 weeks of eating, adding gluten and things like that back into my diet. And I thought, goodness, okay, I've got to stop now, and I really need to focus on my gut health. So what I've done since then is completely cut out gluten and really, really focused on optimizing my gut. And then I found that I've got more energy, my brain fog's gone, my joint aches and pains. I noticed that once I cut out gluten, really, really focused on my gut health, obviously cut out alcohol and things like that, all of these symptoms started to improve. I was thinking clearer, sleeping better. But my joint aches and pains improved. My hot sweats got less. Because I was at the point of thinking, I might actually start HRT. But then, my symptoms all got so much better. And so now I'm kind of delaying starting the HRT and really, really focusing even more on my gut health. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy a drink every now and then, because of course I do. At the weekend, I had quite a few drinks, and the weekend before. But generally, 80% of the time, I am very careful, and much more so than I ever was. So I'm even more passionate now about really teaching people in the menopause that optimizing our gut health and really looking after our body from within can have such a huge impact. Now, of course, it doesn't replace our hormones completely, and I'm sure that I will at some point start HRT. I've got one component of my HRT sorted. I've got a coil in, I've got my Mirena coil ready to go, and that's helped massively with heavy periods. So any women out there, most common thing that happens, we think that our periods are just going to nicely tail off, settle, get less and less and less and stop.
Oh my goodness.
Very rarely happens, I'm sorry to say.
Oh, no.
But the majority of women experience more erratic periods. They get shorter cycles, longer bleeding, heavier bleeding, clots. So common. And I cannot recommend a Mirena coil enough. That's a progesterone coil. So please speak to your GPs if you are having, heavy erratic bleeding, because there are things that can be done for that. And the menopause, perimenopause, like you said, can happen anywhere leading up to the menopause. So kind of average age of menopause is around about 51, 52, which is where your periods stop. But the perimenopause can be like 10 years or more before that. So
brilliant. Yay. As if, we haven't just gone through the whole childbirth, getting our bodies back to some semblance of normality, and now like bring them perimenopause. Honestly, it just feels like it's never ending. But this is why, more than ever, I'm so passionate about empowering women around their health and all aspects. I'm so grateful to you and how many topics we've covered there. We've gone from like HRT, hormone replacement therapy, perimenopause, to Botox, to like, aging, to all the things. Is so important because these are all real things. And I think sometimes you almost feel a bit like embarrassed to ask, or don't know who to ask. So that's why I really hope this podcast is going to help people with like addressing, this is what I want from this series, like the real talk of like what people are going through, heavy periods, like, oh my goodness, so many people are struggling with that right now. So definitely so important. And I love what you said there about 80% of the time, it's like the healthy habits.
Mm-hmm.
And 20% of the time is the sort of living. And that, I feel with that, you're never having to then get back on track, like that whole ethos and guilt and diet cycle. It's like, actually, it's just about having that healthy habits 80% of the time.
Yeah, and habits, for everything. It's not just eating habits. I was thinking about this morning, because another thing that actually I find quite irritating is that so many busy mums say, I've never no time for myself, I have no time to put my makeup on, no time to do this. I'm sorry, but I'm busy, I have 3 kids. You'll never see me leave the house in the morning without makeup on and dressing nicely, because it's important to me and it's a habit, and it takes me 5 minutes. So one of my habits in the morning is always been to make my bed. Another habit is to put my makeup on. And that doesn't have to be like hours. It can be, some CC cream, blusher, mascara, lip gloss. You're done. It's 5 minutes.
I know. I love that makeup in 5 like set from Arbonne is brilliant, because it is literally like, it takes me 2 minutes to do. Like I think I'm the same. I remember saying to my husband before I had my little girl, like, sweetheart, please don't let me let myself go. Like, I think that was my biggest fear, is when I became a mum, that I would not have the time to look after myself, because it's a priority to me. And I think that's, regardless of what your habits are, it doesn't mean that you have to wear makeup or you have to, those are just our habits, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think you will all have time for what's a priority to you. So if your health is a priority, or your, well-being, whatever it is, and I think as busy moms, it's really important to balance, what that looks like. And last week's episode with Rachel Bloomfield, where she, was talking about like the 5 minute self-care tips, and like it doesn't have to take hours and hours and hours. It can just be simply 5 minutes, and how
Mm-hmm.
important that is to. So yeah, I think a lot of that is tied up in self-esteem. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a big part, of getting your mojo back is actually you need to feel good in yourself. So if that is brushing your hair and putting a bit of makeup on, or if it's putting some sexy underwear on, no one needs to know it's underneath.
Oh my
It's
God,
just
my
you.
underwear is so not sexy. That is definitely something I need to work on. But yeah,
but if you put sexy underwear on, it suddenly actually makes you feel so much more
it
powerful.
does. It does. It does. It does. I think that is definitely. I was actually saying, was it you I was having a conversation with, or I was like, no, I need to up my underwear game. Someone was telling me the other day, Victoria's Secret. They love Victoria's Secret.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I probably need to go shopping actually myself for some nice
I think
underwear.
my underwear is very M&S. I need to up my game. I need to Victoria's Secret my underwear.
But I do think that these little things just make so much.
Definitely. For me, it's getting my nails done. That's like my thing. And I know, so the amount of times people will say to me, your nails are so lovely. Oh, and I want to be like, oh, thanks. And then the next sentence that comes out of their mouth is like, oh, I wish I had time to get my nails done. So unfair for someone to like on your like happiness. And it's like, yeah, I do prioritize having my nails done. I go every 2 weeks. It's an hour-long appointment. And so, yeah, like people might think, well, that's a waste of time and money, but it's not to me because it's my priority. It makes me feel good. And every single time I look down my hands, every day, my nails look lovely. And that gives me like a little jolt of dopamine and like, oh, like I'm worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to do things. You have to prioritize you and have little things that make you feel good, whatever that is. It's different for all of us. But just think, like, what little tweaks can you make?
Your TikTok has got some great tips and tricks and hacks that people can go and have a look at, little mojo, get your mojo back, and all that kind of thing. And it's just I'm so excited for people to learn more about you and explore. But before we end today, I have got our quick fire round for you. I could just see people who are listening right now like, I love this part. Like Wendy doesn't give them any notice and she just springs on them and she asks them a bunch of questions that they've had no time to prepare. Don't worry, don't be scared. Don't be scared. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions and you have to give me the first answer that comes to mind. Okay, they're easy ones. Right, first up, favorite movie, all-time favorite movie.
Beauty and the Beast. Love a bit of Disney.
Beast. I love it. What, the original, like the animated, or
yeah, it's my favorite. Oh, love Belle.
My daughter loves it as well. It's a beautiful story, actually. I do love it. It's one of my favorite in terms of all those kind of princess tales and things. It is one of my favorite. I love it. She's a very strong woman as well. Like takes no prisoners, like stands up for what she believes in. I love it. Right. Favorite, get in the mood, dance, like song, get your energy up, like all-time favorite song.
Oh my gosh, I've got so many.
I know, it's such a hard question. I wouldn't actually know what to say for that one.
I'm going to say one of my favorites is Titanium by David Guetta.
Yes, I am titanium. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I'll always subject you to like my ending on that. Right, favorite drink, favorite tipple.
That changes. I'm into tonic at the moment, but I also love an Aperol Spritz.
An Aperol Spritz. Love that. I think I've already had that once in my life. I'm like, but it always sounds very like, you say can have an Aperol Spritz. Sounds very posh. I love it. It's very refreshing though from memory.
It is, but quite dangerous.
Is it? Yeah, just like drinking it like juice. Yes. Favorite all-time Arbonne product?
Oh, that's really hard.
I know. You have to though. You have to choose one.
Got to be Fizz Sticks, hasn't it?
I know. That's what I would say. Okay, so let me make it, because this is a bit mean for you, because obviously you're very into sort of dermatology. What's your favorite skincare, and then what's your favorite nutrition? Okay, so you've said Fizz Sticks. What's your favorite skincare?
Derm Results Pure Pads. I love them.
You have
Absolutely.
caviar lime in there. Amazing.
They're
I'll
great for like hormonal breakouts around your jawline. Oh, just clear
amazing.
instant. Yeah.
Good to know. I love it. I love all these little extra value add tips we're getting today. Right, your easy go-to quick supper, like to feed the family, like just quick.
I'm so bad at cooking. Spag bowl or a chili, either one of those.
Do you know, we've had the chili answer from our first episode guest, Meg McLean. She said a chili. I was like, really? Is that really quick and easy? Like, I feel like there's a lot of chopping in that. But spag bowl, yeah, that's what we're having for dinner tonight, actually, because that is a good batch cook.
Frozen chopped onions. That's the best hack I ever learned.
Ever. I know they're more expensive, but like, who can? Life is short to chop onions, man. I agree.
As soon as I discovered those, I'm like, I can make anything really quickly.
Well, I have a whole freezer full of frozen veg and stuff. So I buy like, and it's actually much cheaper and much more nutritious because it's frozen at the source. So I have like frozen peppers, I have frozen spinach, I have frozen mushrooms, like all these things. And actually when my veg is like, if I've got fresh veg that's about to go, I'll like chop it up and just freeze it, like especially courgette or mushrooms or things like that. Because again, when you're time poor, it's so easy to throw those in the pan and just go for it. So I'm glad it's not just knows the chopped onions one. Okay, final question is, what is your, I think you've kind of already answered this, but I'll let you sort of give it your top tip for like busy working mum.
Do something that makes you happy every day. Dance in the kitchen. Because if you
actually, again, there's a theme here. We had this because like because she said like get up, she said move your body, whatever that looks like. Like dance, we were saying about, kitchen dance parties are the best. I agree with that. I think do something that brings you joy. I think there's a lot of like the mojo joy bring you back. It is about coming back to joy. I actually have a podcast episode I've done about that. It's like how to find your joy. And it's about just, it is focusing on things that you enjoy and like doing those every day. And like, even if you're the most burnt out you could feel right now, like slowly but surely it does bring you back to life.
100%. Yeah, you can never underestimate a boogie to your favorite tune.
Well, thank you so much. I could talk to you for days. Like we could cover so many more topics, and I think we definitely have to do a Botox episode and more on perimenopause. But you've got because I know you've got such fantastic advice and tips on that. I know that people can go and follow you on social media. So where is the best place for people to connect with you?
Yeah, if you head over to my TikTok, there's lots of advice on menopause there specifically. But I do also
viral on a few of those videos. Like, what's one of your videos is like ridiculous.
Not quite viral. It's a few 100,000. It's not quite viral.
Just a few 100,000 views on my video. That's what you do.
That's something off
so what can people find you on TikTok? What's under?
The Mojo Maker.
The
Mojo Maker. Yeah, so that's a brand that I kind of started in the last couple of years. We'll see where that takes me. But I also have a private Facebook community called Where's My Mojo At? And in there, I share just lots of tips on self-care and mindset things and talk a bit about gut health, all different things that help you get your mojo back.
I love it. Amazing. Well, Ericka, like, as I say, I could talk to you forever. I've loved everything that you've shared today. And I know so many mums in this community would have got so much. Thank you for being so honest about your story and your struggles, like going through divorce and, BP and all that. Because I just think it's so important that when we share our vulnerability, we really, truly do empower and help other people. So thank you so much. There'll definitely be someone that's listening to this today thinking, okay, if she can get through it, I can get through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing. When you look at anything, it's like, if she can, so can I. That's one of my mottos. But thank you so much for having me on as well. I feel like we have covered so much. It's been a bit all over the place, but hopefully
this is a normal conversation between me and you. But no, I am so grateful. Thank you so much, Ericka.
Thank you for tuning in today. I am so grateful for you. If this episode has resonated, make sure you visit wendygriffith.co.uk to discover more of my content and my fantastic free resources to support you in thriving. Or if you'd like to continue the conversation further, drop me a DM via Instagram at Wendy Griffith Live Healthy. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep thriving.